Hello fellow gaijins! Welcome back to our Japanese Basics for Beginners series. This is episode 2 and in today's episode I will teach you a few more kana, a little bit of vocabulary and also the first kanji of this series. In the grammar part I will introduce a new particle and we will talk about some very important concepts that are used in pretty much every Japanese sentence. Without further ado, let's start the lesson. 私の可愛い犬はそばを食べる。私の可愛い犬はそばを食べる。This was the example sentence we had at the end of the last episode. Those example sentences will get harder and harder the further we go. At some point we will probably start doing conversations and not example sentences so that you can really see the words and the grammar parts in action. And then in the lesson after that we will have a review of the whole conversation so that you can really review the learned materials again. Now that this is out of the way, let's start with the kana. Today's katakana are the ones that start with K. They are the katakana kakekikoku. Now let's look at them individually. This is ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. Make sure you go over the pronunciation parts and really study those pronunciations well. Also try to write down every single katakana so that you can remember them better. Writing down things really helps with long-term memory, so I really recommend you to do that if you have the time. The vocab we cover in this series is vocab that is catered to this series in particular. Now, it's vocab I choose out of my memory because I know that they are useful and I can make good example sentences with them to explain the grammar in a better way. Right now at the beginning, I feel like this is very important so that we can really cover the grammar in a very efficient manner and so that you don't have the struggle of not understanding a vocab in a sentence and then not understanding the grammar because of that. After we've finished with the most important basic grammar, I will probably start looking at a list for vocabulary. The particular list I have in mind is called the 1000 most common Japanese words. I feel like it makes a lot of sense to look through that list because yeah, they are the most used Japanese words. So you will encounter these words the most in your daily lives. Now I think you get what I mean. Let's start with the vocabulary. Nani means what? Nani. Nani. Uchi means house. Uchi. Uchi. Itsumo means always. Itsumo. Now there's something I want to say about itsumo. It has something to do with time. Many words that have to do with time don't use particles, so it's very important to distinguish between those kinds of words and the ones that do use a particle after or before them. Time is a very complicated issue in Japanese and we will make a dedicated episode only for this because it is a pretty deep topic, so I will cover this at a later date. Suru is a verb and it means to do. Suru. Suru. Tsukuru means to make. Tsukuru. Tsukuru. Suki means to like. Suki. Suki. There is a very important thing that you have to keep in mind about this word, and that is that it is an adjective. In English, to like is a verb, which can be a little bit confusing. After I get used to it, it got very natural to use it as an adjective, but at first it will probably feel strange to use it like that. Kanji! This is the first kanji section we have in this series, and now you will learn your very first kanji. The kanji we will learn is nani. Nani means what? We had it in the vocabulary section, and I thought maybe just pairing up a vocabulary we just had with its kanji is the best way to get into it at first. Kanji, when handwritten, have a stroke order. Now it can be very important for some kanji to use the right stroke order because many kanji look very similar, so having the right stroke order makes sure that people can read the kanji. I will leave it up to you if you want to learn the stroke order, but I can tell you about a few rules that apply to almost every kanji so that you don't have to learn the stroke stroke orders of every single kanji. The two most important ones are go top to bottom and left to right. Some other rules are horizontal lines first, very long lines second, dots and stuff like dashes are added at the end. Now there are a lot more stroke order rules, but I will not go over them because I don't feel like you need them at the moment. Once we go into really difficult stuff, we can talk about it. In today's episode, as I said, we will introduce a new particle. This said particle is de. The usage of de I want to tell you about in this video is that it indicates the place at which an action takes place. So for example, I am recording this video at my home. In this instance, you would use de. Now you know the word uchi, so you just say uchi de and so on. This de marks uchi as the place where I'm doing something. Now there are a lot of other uses of the particle de, but in this episode we will only cover this one. De always comes after a place, which is a noun, and before an action, which is a verb. So the example sentence I have for this particle is Inu wa uchi de soba o tsukuru. Do you know what it means? It means the dog makes soba at home. The next grammar I want to cover is desu. This is very important for polite speech. The grammar desu is a so-called copula. Now, I don't really know how to explain what a copula is because it's very confusing and we don't really know this concept in our languages. But it is basically like a verb, but it is not a verb. Des can conjugate like a verb, so if it's past tense, des is also past tense. You can use des in any sentence that doesn't end on a verb. So if it ends on an adjective or a noun, you can use des. You should use des if you want to be polite. Let's make an example. If I am talking to a superior and I want to say that his dog is cute, I would say Inu wa kawaii desu. This basically means the dog is cute. Now, you could say the sentence without using the des, but then the sentence is less polite. For now, I will start using des at the end of sentences I make, just so you learn the usage because it is very important in the real world. At some point though, we will also change to casual language again and maybe make a mixture between both depending on what conversation I am showing to you or what sentence it is. The next concept is very similar to des. It has to do with verbs. It is the polite version of any verb, the so-called mas version. In this form, verbs always end in mas. Mas also conjugates if time changes happen or if you say something in negative or positive form. Before we can go into any examples though, I want to talk about the different types of verbs. Now, depending on the textbooks or the study material you are using, the explanations always differ a little bit. The way I learned it and which I feel is most intuitive and easy to learn is that there are two different types of verbs. There is eru and iru verbs. So that means the verb ends on eru or iru. Then there are all the other verbs. Now I will talk about the other verbs in the next video, but for now I want to focus on the eru and iru verbs. The reason for that is that the eru and the iru verbs are the easiest to conjugate. When using mas with iru and eru verbs, you just take away the ru and you put in mas. Let's take taberu for example. Taberu means to eat. So when you want to say taberu but you want to be polite, you just say tabemasu, tabemasu. So if we go back to the example sentence from lesson 1, you would just say Inu wa soba o tabemasu. It's basically the same principle as with this, it just makes the sentence more polite. This and must can never be used in the same sentence, which makes sense because if one is at the end, the other can't be at the end. The last grammar point I want to talk about is how to say that, this, and that over there. In Japanese, there are 6 words for this. Why are there 6 words and not 3? Now, every word here has 2 different ones in Japanese, depending on how you use it. The first 3 words are kore, sore, and are. They're very straightforward and easy to use. They can actually just replace any noun you want in a sentence. If you want to say, what is that? Or what is this? You just say, kore wa nani? Are wa nani? Sore wa nani? So to say this once more, but more in depth. If I hold something, so for example, I'm holding these socks right now. Ignore what kind of socks they are, I got them as a present. So if I want to talk about these, but I don't know the name, I can just say, kore wa nani? which means, what is this? Now, I said I will use desu in sentences, but using desu in a sentence as a question has a twist to it, so I will just not use it for this sentence. Now, if a friend that is sitting beside me is holding this, now I'm not holding it, but my friend there is, and I just say, what is that? I can just say, それは何? It's basically the same principle, it just works the same as in English. So just try to think about it like that. So I don't hold it and my friend doesn't hold it either. I just say, あれは何? So what is that over there? Now I said there are 6 different ones. That is because when you want to actually use the noun in the sentence, you cannot use これ, それ, and あれ. Now I'm gonna just call them 即数. Now this word actually exists in Japanese. Even though there is a Japanese word for it, I'm gonna just use this for now. If I want to use the word 即数 in my sentence, I cannot use これ. これ can only be used if it replaces a noun in a sentence. If I use これ, it replaces 即数 in this sentence. But if I want to say, what are these socks? So I use the word socks in the sentence. I would have to say, このソックスは何? So as you notice, I didn't use これ, but I used この. The 3 additional words that exist in Japanese are この, その, and あの. They work exactly the same way as これ, それ, and あれ, but you have to put a noun at the end of it. そのソックスは何? あのソックスは何? このソックスは何? Pretty standard stuff. It always works the same. You will see their usage is always fairly linear. Now we covered everything I wanted to cover in this episode, and the only thing left for us to do is look at the example sentence I have for you today. The sentence is, 私の家で私の犬はいつもそばを作る。私の家で私の犬はいつもそばを作る。If you want to take a breather in between 2 words in a sentence, you always do this after a particle. In Japanese, this just tends to feel the most natural. Did you understand the sentence? If you did, please tell me in the comments. I will talk about the sentence in the next episode in depth. You know all the grammar and all the words that I used in this sentence, so it shouldn't be too hard to understand what I said. If you have any feedback or any questions, please let me know. It would really help me make this series better and better every episode. Throw those shurikens all over the like button if this was helpful for you. And subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to not miss any future episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mata ne.